Hello everyone, welcome back to the Garland Gab. It's really nice to be back. As you know, we've had a brief hiatus. So we're just going to get straight back into business, no faffing about. You all know why we've had our hiatus. We did a video. And so as usual, we will welcome our usual panel. We have from Waterford Island, we have the very charismatic Connor Grant.
Hello everybody.
From Ontario, Canada, we have the very charming and very cute Molly Jade.
Hello everyone.
And, so we'll just have a very brief recap of where we're up to. Our last podcast was my podcast. We paid tribute to Judy on the anniversary of passing by saying exactly what we all love about her, and we were joined by two special guests. But the podcast previous to that, we started delving into Judy's filmography with her first two feature films. So today we are picking right up from there, and we're getting on to Judy's next feature. So we're gonna today we're going to dissect and discuss Judy's third feature film, Thoroughbreds Don't Cry. It's her first pairing with Mickey Rooney, and it's actually the first where she receives top billing in a feature film. Actually, the only time she received billing above Mickey Rooney in a film. The plot is very simple, very basic. It's of its time. Roger Calverton and his granddad are moving to America to put their horse, the Pucker, in a race. It's a famous race, but I think it's fictional. They try to enlist Timmy Donovan, played by Mickey Rooney, who was a really headstrong, thinks he's a big shot jockey, but they do form a friendship throughout the film in the end. Timmy lives at Mother Ralph's boarding house for jockeys, and her niece is Cricket West, who is played by Judy Garland, and that's where she comes into the picture. And so so the main plot of the story is there's a few little puppy love scenes with Judy and Ronald Sinclair, who plays Roger Calverton. Very basic, and then the main theme of the story is Timmy's dad feigns illness, asks him to throw the race in which he's racing the Pucker in, and he to get a new heart. He throws the race even though he doesn't want to, and Roger's granddad passes away. Spoiler alert. And then there's all a bit drama, and then it all turns out okay in the end. You can go and see the rest of the film, because it turns out that Timmy's dad is actually a crook who's actually lying just to get some money. So that's the plot. Is there anything you want to say about the plot before I move on to Judy's parts?
Go ahead, Connor.
Okay. I was being the gentleman. It's I mean the plot is paper thin, of course it is, but we're going to talk about Judy's parts of it there in a minute. But overall, I think it is actually, because I watched it for the first time in quite a while for this, and it actually is a very enjoyable, easy watch of a film. I think it's very much a representation of I think it was John Fricke has often said that MGM even did the B movies very well, and this probably is kind of a B movie, but it's up to such an enjoyable standard. When you compare it to maybe Broadway Melody of 1938 or even Pigskin Parade, I think it's, out of her earlier ones, it's one of the most enjoyable, actually, I have to say.
And I have to agree with Connor. It is one of my favorites of her earlier work because it is such an enjoyable film. And of course, she is just such a ham, as she always is in her earlier works. But yeah, no, it's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I just think we'll talk about this more. I think she's so funny. She's so cute. She's so adorable. She's quite different to some of her other early roles, especially the ones with Mickey Rooney. She's very, very different.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a persona that MGM didn't really seem to want to carry on with her. Because they changed her into the girl next door, the pine, and lovesick and the ugly duckling. Not once is she called an ugly duckling in this, which is quite sweet.
I also enjoyed, sorry Sarah to cut
no, go on.
I also enjoyed that, as you were talking about her character in this, she's kind of like, she puts Mickey Rooney in his place, she's kind of the one in charge, sort of, and when all the rowdy boys, jockeys are at the table and she's telling them off, and like, she's feisty little thing in it.
And I thought we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that scene in a minute, because I love that scene.
Yeah. I was just going to tack on to that it's funny because this is their first pairing in an MGM film, and their dynamic is completely different than the rest that they would eventually go on to do. And Love Finds Andy Hardy, the Babes on Whatever series, and, of course, Girl Crazy. Well, Girl Crazy is more tied to this one in terms of the dynamic, but I thought that was quite interesting. There isn't a slick of romance between these two.
No.
Unless the only thing I could think of is that there's that little hidden, like the Andrew Lark and Veronica Fisher kind of feuding, but there's a bit of tension under hidden secret sexual tension under. Well, it's not going to be sexual at that age, is it? Well, it would be nowadays, but not back then. But anyway, so should we move on to our scenes?
Yeah.
So we actually first see her, as with Broadway Melody, she's singing in the opening credits, although you actually see her in this one, not just hear her. She's arm in arm with Mickey and Ronald Sinclair, and they're walking towards the camera singing Got a Pair of New Shoes, which...
Got a pair of new shoes, polished up and paid for, honey, they were made for going to town.
Is the only song in the film, and you hear it like 4 times, which does make me laugh, because I will actually add this in here that there was another song, Sun Showers, that was deleted, and both songs were actually cut from Broadway Melody of 1938, which does answers my question from Broadway Melody the other week when I was asking when Got a Pair of New Shoes was written. And I said I'm convinced I heard it in the chorus when Eleanor Powell was dancing. So I did hear it because it was actually supposed to be in that. So any thoughts on the opening scene?
Can I just say that you could so easily turn it into a drinking game, take a swig every time Judy starts singing Got a Pair of New Shoes?
They've got that song's got nothing to do with the plot.
That's what I was just going to say. Why is it Got a Pair of New Shoes? Like, why is it singing a song about a horse or something? Like, I mean, I don't know.
Got a new saddle. I don't know. They could have done
I don't know.
It's a straight, like, I enjoy her performance of it, but it is a peculiar song. It's like, it might even go back to the whole sort of MGM didn't really know what to do with her. So it's like, we'll stick in a song over the opening credits and we'll stick in that she's this. And, you know, it's just kind of like fit it in some way.
Yeah, because it's not a film that needs, it's not a film that should be musical. It doesn't need a song, so they needed to give her a song. So they thought, we'll give her two, and then they got one out, which actually the other one, Sun Showers, was in a place where it would have fitted a bit more. We'll discuss that in a bit, but I don't know, couldn't they have just had a different song in the opening and closing credits? I don't know, but I don't know. But anyway, anything else on there? But it is quite successful, because it was the last Mickey Judy film I saw, and it was like quite exciting to just see them straight away, you know, walking towards the camera. Oh, there they are. And then you saw a bit later, you saw that Judy was getting top bill, and it was like, she wasn't a big star then, and she's getting billed above Mickey. That's unusual. And then when I saw the dynamic between them, I was like, oh, this is quite funny. This is interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That actually struck me when I was watching it, that in the opening credits, that she was billed above the title. Because we often say for me, well, we always say for me and my gal was her first above the billing, but I guess that was her first solo above the billing, above the title billing, I should say. But like even at 15, here in her second MGM movie, she's billed before the title.
Yeah, well, she was in all of the films with Mickey, wasn't she? It was like Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland in Babes in Arms.
Yes.
Strike up the band. But should we move on to her proper scene? First proper scene. So we first actually see Judy in her first acting scene when Roger comes into the boarding house, and again it's another one of them. We hear her before we see her, and you know, here's Judy.
Got a pair of new shoes, polished up and paid for. Honey, they were made for going to town.
She's here, and he's very intrigued, and he disturbs her, and she turns round. I just want to say she's adorable in the whole of this scene. I'll let you talk about the rest of it, but the face she pulls when she sees him, does anyone want to like go further into this?
I love it. I love this scene so much. And her, who are you? Oh man, that is a whole mood. That is a whole mood right there. And the other thing I did want to touch on about this scene, I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but here comes another bit of foreshadowing. I swear to God, her whole life is foreshadowed in all of her films. I'm going to be a great actress. I'm going to be a great singer too. Or I think that's reversed, but anyway. Yeah, she's just foreshadowing. Hello.
That's one of my most, the whole scene is fabulous, but that little section of it is one of my most favoritist things, when she kind of twigs that he's English and she kind of is almost doing her grand dame pretendy sort of a thing, and she says, I'm going to be a great singer and a great actress, and he's like, oh, you really? And she's like, yeah. It's so funny the way she does it.
Yes. And then when she jumps off the piano bench too, she's like, I'm going mad.
And then when he says so, she just goes, that's okay. Just walks along.
Interrupting me. How can I concentrate? I'm going mad. Oh, I'm sorry. That's all right. Say, would you like to hear this Sadie swagger? I'll swing it for you.
You'll swing nothing of the sort. You get at that piano. Who is this?
Yes. Oh my gosh, she's such a ham in that whole section. I love it.
Yeah, I was thinking, because she said by the time she got to Love Finds Andy Hardy, she didn't like the fact she'd been overacting a bit in her previous films. I don't like it when people overact too much, but she was still very natural with it, and she was hilarious.
Yes.
Her and Sophie Tucker throughout the film just bouncing off each other. Brilliant.
Priceless.
That scene
Yeah.
actually reminds me a lot of the scene in Presenting Lily Mars where she's doing the Macbeth
Yes.
monologue. Like,
Yeah.
I had that in my head when I was watching that scene for sure.
But she doesn't overact. That's the, like,
Yeah.
it's only in that scene that there's a small bit of over the topness, but that's the character's
She's
kind of
meant to do
joke
that.
or whatever. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like, she herself is, as an actress, is not overdoing that at all. That's just the
No.
character.
So that scene like leads directly into the next one with they invite Roger for tea. Well, dinner, sorry. We say tea here in Liverpool when we mean dinner, and we say dinner when we mean lunch, in case I ever confuse anyone. So, and I just want to say that I know it was different back then, but Roger is so stereotypically English, and it's so not real for anyone outside of that kind of like Eton kind of setting, you know, who's using the RP language. Not many of us use it nowadays, but here's even though Ronald Sinclair was actually from New Zealand, but here's how polite is he at that dinner table. I like to think of myself as polite, but I would have well thrown one of those plates at one of those jockeys. And I actually want to kill him for being so polite.
But I think that's even, it is stereotypically British. It absolutely is. But he is meant to be upper class, isn't he? Like, coming from sort of the whole, what's the big horse races in London? Not Chelsea.
Not Ascot.
Ascot, that's it.
Ascot, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of, Chelsea is the Flower Show, sorry. He's meant to be that sort of thing, isn't he? That, you know, he's not, but like, I mean, it was either that, I'd say it was either going to, he could either be the upper class British or he'd be like, all right, Gavna, kind of a thing, you know.
Like his, what's his stable hand called?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, can I just comment about a scene that doesn't involve Judy? He sneaks him over, doesn't he, in the horse cart on the boat?
That looks like the Titanic.
That does, it is the Titanic. I had the exact same thought. And I know he's trying to stop the horse from making noise so he doesn't, you know, like, give it away that he's there. But if the horse doesn't give it away, he's going to give it away by sitting there going, oh, come on, old fella. I've got to go here. They had to stick me on, you see, which is a really big case of tell not show in the script. I thought the script regarding the Americans was quite good. It has a lot of good, funny dialogue, but I thought it was awful when it involved the English characters. I'm presuming that possibly the script writers were Americans, so they knew how to write for Americans, but it was very, very funny. The likes of Judy's and Sophie Tucker's and even like Mickey's dialogue was very, for those films, you know, which they are B movies, it was actually quite good. But I thought it was quite poor in the English sense. So anyway, I was digressing then going on about that scene, which I thought was hilarious because he just gave it away to everyone that he was hiding in the horse box, where he should have just shut up and hid.
Yep.
So anyway.
Classic MGM.
So we'll get back to the dinner scene. So anything else you want to add? Because that's when Mickey comes in as well, doesn't he?
Well,
Judy and Mickey's first scene.
Yeah, I mean the boys are like actual elephants coming down the stairs to the table to have their dinner, and I don't know, maybe it was done on purpose to show I suppose the real difference between the American side and the English side or whatever, but they are so like no manners or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they're just it's very funny, of course, and even Sophie Tucker is, you know, going around and she's like, now we have a guest and be good and mind your manners and all this, and you know, cricket, you're in charge, and she puts Judy in charge, and And from the beginning, they're Mickey and Judy's first ever scene together is she's like telling him to sit down, shut up and eat your dinner, basically.
Yeah.
Love it. But you can see even though it's a different chemistry than what we got used to, you can see the like sparks with them. It's like kind of different. It's like comedic, because they should have made some comedies together. They'd have been good in that sense, you know, not romantic. But no, that was really good. The other jockey, the one who they set up to try and win at the end, that's what's his face, isn't it? Frankie Darrow, who was engaged to Jimmy, Judy's sister.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Bit of trivia for you there. I think his name's Frankie Darrow. I'll check that.
That sounds familiar.
Anything you want to say on this scene, Carly?
No, other than, you know, that those plate throwing skills, though. My God. Like, just chucks the plate and catches it as if it's nothing. And the food's just going everywhere. And the contrast between the two characters of Roger and Timmy is never more apparent than it is in that scene.
Can I just say, though, that Mickey actually shoves Judy out the way against the wall?
Yeah.
That's awful. And it's quite cute the way she like gets in the way of Roger, though. Stands up for him, man. She's like, have a shot at me.
Yeah.
When she says there's nothing that looks like a man about you, that reminds me of Jane Powell in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. She says something very similar to that in a very similar situation with a load of like pigs around the table. No, I think that's basically it for that scene.
Yeah, it's just it's a great example of as we just said, of she having a very different persona and a very different presentation than she has in other films, and it's great to see her as a strong, powerful woman on the screen.
Yes, especially at the young age.
Yeah, I see a lot of Judy being herself in that film too. Like, I feel like that's probably a lot of how she really was in real life, in terms of that hamminess and, you know, sticking up for Roger and you know, putting those boys in their places when they were at dinner. I feel like that's just a lot of who she was. She let a lot of her own personality shine through in that film.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because the real Judy was very feisty, which she doesn't get enough credit for when people do that. Oh, poor Judy. Oh, shut up.
Oh, she could hold her own.
I did read, or I either read or heard somebody commented once on people like Judy Garland, and I know there's not many people on the same level of her, but somebody who's a great star like her. I know she was on her way up at the time of this film, but the comment was to the effect of the really great stars never fully disappear into a role. There's always a little bit of themselves kind of floating on the surface of it, which I think is very true with Judy. Like, certainly incredible actress, and even if you just compare Broadway Melody to this one, she is a very different character in both, but yet she's just shimmering there on the surface. It's not, you know, the likes of Meryl Streep or somebody like that is almost completely gone into the character, whereas Judy is still a little bit on the surface.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's my big psychological, philosophical thought for the day, but I can't say. Philosophical.
She does that in every single one of her films. You can see her in every single one of them. And it's like they're a bunch of different personalities for her or something, right? Like, she just shifts so seamlessly into each one, but is still there. You can still tell that that's who she is. Adding her own little nuances to each character, and a lot of them are the very same that she carries through. I know we've discussed at length a lot of the things that she's carried on into each one of her roles, but yeah, it's interesting.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And probably it's just a reflection of her natural abilities, like that you
Yeah.
never, what was it Elaine Stritch said, that she never saw Judy Garland in a lie. She
Never
always
caught
told
her
the
in a
truth.
lie. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's there at 15 in this film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can I just ask before we go into the next scene, what do you think of Judy's image in this? As we said, we really like a portrayal of her personality. I think the costumes are, I know you said the other day, kind of they are better than Broadway Melody, but they're not quite as good as Pigskin Parade. She's still in a few silly little flowery dresses, and the shoes are very
But at
like
least-
baby doll.
They are.
But
Yeah.
when she's at, she looks very smart though when she's at the race at the end. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah. That was one of my very first observations watching it through this time around, was that finally, like, she's not in these like baby doll frilly things. I really like the dress that she's wearing in that opening scene. I've always thought that looked really nice on her, really cute. Yeah, she does have those baby doll shoes when she's singing the Got a Pair of New Shoes, and throughout, but it fits her, I guess. It fits her character. They're not trying to baby her in any way. She looks like a teenager.
Mm.
Yeah, because she's not, you're right there, Carly, she's not presented as, you know, the way in the Andy Hardy ones, there's always a point about her being a bit younger than Andy Hardy, whereas here she seems to be on the same level as Mickey and Ronald, you know. There's no references to her being a child or anything. I think Mickey, even maybe in the next scene when we talk about it, but he calls her, that dame is always singing, you know, or whatever. Like, it's not, oh, she's the kid singing or whatever. It's kind of on their level, you know?
Yeah.
He
does refer to Ronald Sinclair as the little kid at the end when he says he's riding the race. He says, oh, that little kid. And he was the youngest out of three in real life. He was only 13, whereas Judy was 15, and then Mickey turned 17 during filming. So, I don't know what the ages are meant to be in it. I don't know whether Mickey is meant to be maybe just a tad older.
Mm.
You can tell that Judy's older than Roger, though. Like that's, I mean, they don't really explicitly say that in the film, but you can tell that she's definitely older than him. But there is one scene near the end of the film when they're in the diner and she's eating all those beans and stuff, that like she does, you know, when the guy comes out with another plate for Mickey and he asks where he went and she goes, bye-bye. Like, it's just, I don't really understand that, but that's like the only time where she's portrayed as it just sounds like something a young child would do.
I've never understand that. It's obviously got some subtext. I don't know, was she taking the mick there, the character, or what did it mean, or whether she just acting like a kid to that fella as if to say, oh, I don't know. You know.
It's very weird. I would love to know where that came from. But that's the only real time where she looks like a child. Everywhere else, she's a teenager.
Yeah, I agree. And I like coats and hats and everything are really like age appropriate. Yeah. But I still got a little problem with the white ankle socks and the shoes.
I think they're cute.
They're adorable, but they're still a little bit, you know, baby-fied. But I'll have a bit more to say on the image when we get to Everybody Sing. But anyway, should we move on?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So Judy's next scene. I can't wait till we talk about this.
Oh, here we go now.
It's when she sings Got a Pair of New Shoes all the way through. But it's set against another scene involving Timmy, Mickey Rooney, and Roger, Ronald Sinclair. And let's just say Ronald fell off a horse and has a little bit of a upper leg injury. I think it's a hamstring injury. And so Mickey's pulling, I won't get to that yet. Mickey's like just giving him a massage, rubbing ointment on it or liniment. So in the scene prior to that, this is where he falls off the horse. But does anyone want to comment on the scene where he actually falls off the horse? Or do you want me to do it?
What can
Rather
we say that's appropriate?
suggestive.
Let's just say
interesting.
I am shipping Timmy and Roger 100%. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe I could say this much. So it's very obvious, because we're in 1937 in a B movie, that when it cuts to the close-ups, they're on a pretend horse with a fake background going behind them. And I guess in order to simulate the motion of the horse, the two of them are sort of gyrating in a suggestive manner.
We're so mature, Rob.
Higher up on his withers. Watch the turn, easy now.
It seems that Grandfather decided to enter the poker in the Ridgemore Handicap.
Oh, you don't say. What gave him that idea?
Oh, I suggested it.
Oh, you did you?
I thought it a good idea for you to get the feel of the horse before the big race.
I don't need to get the feel of no horse. When was all this decided?
Oh, it was that night after I gave you the black eye.
You gave me the black eye. What about the one I gave you?
We're both watching you. How you coming, me boy?
Fine, Mr. Wilkins. There's really very little to it. See you later.
Hey, what you doing?
What about the positions that they're in, Connor?
Yes, yeah, no, I know.
Oh boy.
But Roger gets so excited by it that he falls off. Okay. He falls off the horse. And so, in the forward scene, Mickey's got him in his bedroom and he's massaging his hamstring. He's got his pants down and Roger's just laid on the bed. Anybody who hasn't seen it. And then Judy, as Cricket West, comes and overhears them talking about going to have a date. They're going planning a date at the movies as well, aren't they, Timmy and Roger?
And they're fighting over what they're going to do for dinner. Oh, well, you picked it last time. No, I'm going to give you a T-bone steak the size of your head.
And who's going to pay as well?
Because they've been on other dates that Roger has paid for. It's like, you paid for this and you paid for that. And oh, no, I'm paying for this. I'm like, okay.
All the while he's pulling his pants down and throwing them on the bed. Yeah. Oh, God.
So Judy overhears this and she thinks, this is doing it for me. I want to get in on this little, Cricket wants a threesome. Sorry. So she asks to come in and then they say no. So she decides to go and get her little guitar and sing to get their attention. And she sings again. The third time we hear it, got a pair of new shoes. And meanwhile, she keeps opening the door on them. And Mickey keeps shutting it. But every time he goes back, Roger's trying to pull his pants up. And he just jumps. He literally dives at Roger, pulls his pants right down and lashes him on the bed. Anything else anyone wants to say?
I gotta say that I love how Judy keeps just opening the door and then going over, and then Timmy just keeps slamming the door shut, and then she goes back, opens it again, does the whole thing. And then of course Roger getting off the bed and finally swooping underneath the bed to try to hide. This poor kid, oh my gosh, I'd hate to see what his legs looked like after filming that scene. Like, if you're watching what Mickey is doing, he's just like beating the shit out of his legs. Like, this poor guy. Anyway,
He does it in time so the song at one point he sort of pauses and goes
Oh my God. The other thing I wanted to mention about that scene too, it's again one of those blink and you miss it little things. When Cricket finally gets into the room, she sits on the chair. I think Mickey takes away her guitar, if I'm remembering it correctly. And Judy looks at him and sticks her tongue out at him. And it is so funny. I always loved that. And you can tell that, again, that is just Judy adding that. It's one of those, again, it's a blink and you miss it scene. There's no way that was directed. She just went with it. She was given the character and she went with it.
I wonder if they both, because when she comes in, he does that kind of pretending to strangle and the fake clap. And I know they both did like improvisation, so I do wonder if they just both said, let's just go.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure a lot of that scene was improvised. They were probably told kind of, the idea of this scene, she's got to sing this, she's got to try to get in there. But I think all three of them really kind of ran with it and added their own, bits to the...
Mickey and Judy were vaudevillians, at heart. So I'd say it was kind of just, let's run with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. The scene after that, does have one of, it's not my favourite line in the film that comes later, but it is an amusing line where he says something and she says, oh, Timmy, you're so sweet, but I've always wondered, isn't the horse ever going to fall on you? The way she delivers it.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm.
I was getting almost Wizard of Oz vibes. Isn't a house going to fall on you? But no, of course.
Yeah. We've often said about Judy and Mickey being like brother and sister, and that's why there was no romance and stuff. And they're very much like a brother and sister in this, because even though the rivals, they do, get on in the end. I think these have been great as playing brother and sister in a film.
Oh, yeah.
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 They fought like brother and sister in this one, so it gave us a good idea.
It's a pity that MGM didn't kind of pick up on that or cast them either as brother and sister, or just two best friends that had their own separate love interests or something, because that would have been a bit, I don't know, they would have, I don't know,
It half was like that in the Andy Hardy films, except she was pining for him.
Yeah.
She'd have had her own love interest, it would have made it more interesting, but especially in like Begins for Andy Hardy, she should have had a boyfriend then.
Yeah.
Would have been great if she'd had a boyfriend that was like a higher social status or something than Andy, and he was like put out or something by him,
Yeah, definitely. But he would have been. Betsy Booth was definitely like going to end up with like a slightly upper class boyfriend.
Oh God! I mean, her mum was in the theatre, and that was the circle she moved in. So she was going to end up with a swell.
She would have met her Gene Kelly eventually. It's okay.
Yes.
So, anything else on that before we move on?
Don't think so.
No.
I think we've covered it. Just about as well as Mickey covered his thighs.
These it's only a short film, so there's like Judy actually is in it a lot, but because it's a short film, there's not loads to get through.
Yeah.
So the next time we see her is at the race, I believe, where Mickey is riding the pucker, the one he actually throws, and there's a few like amusing scenes with Sophie Tucker where they're in the Peter Calverton's guests in the box and everything, and the ushers are trying to move them, and she's just having none of it. Sophie Tucker, she's sat there just giving dry one-liners, and he says, "Ma'am, I'm the usher," and she's just like, "Oh, go on and ush."
Oh yeah.
I've got to put it here before I forget. I can't remember whether it was this race or the race near the end, but I think it's the race near the end actually. No, it is the race near the end, but I'll say it here before I forget. One thing that does really crack me up is she's in a rush, Sophie Tucker, and she bumps into someone, and he goes, "Ma'am, where do you think you're going?" And she goes, "I'll send you a telegram about it in the morning." And just storms off.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like Sophie Tucker an awful lot. I think she's fabulous as a character actress like that,
She is.
The only downside is she doesn't sing, and we never ever got to hear and Judy sing together. Either of the films.
And of course, Judy would sing her signature song some of these days in her Palace medley, years later.
Yeah. But so then we have the race. I don't know whether anyone else wants to talk about the actual interaction during the race when Timmy Donathan's like not doing too well, but I've got a funny comment about Judy. I don't know whether you want to comment on it.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
I know that this is my favourite Judy line in it, and it does crack me up. And again, it's Sophie Tucker's face. Is he's being holding back and he's finally making his move, as they say, you know, because that's what he does. He holds back and then makes his move towards the end. And they're like, oh, he's coming now, he's going for it. And you just see...
Yeah, come on, big shot, give him the works.
And Sophie's face is just like... And it's just the combination of her delivery and Sophie Tucker's face.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's kind of the point. I think you can see her character and Mickey's character are starting to get on a bit more.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. It's such a short little scene. But no, I have to agree with absolutely everything that you just said. It's very cute. And again, her outfit.
Yeah, nice outfit.
Yes.
A day at the races outfit.
Yes.
So after that, Timmy's thrown the race, and the Puka, has a lot. Well, he came in second or third, and Roger's granddad dies again. Spoiler alert. And I've already just spoiled it before I said spoiler alert. Sorry. Roger's then left to the estate, and he's supposed to be selling the Puka and packing up, and he goes to say goodbye to Judy's character Cricket, and then they have a very, very sweet scene together. Would anyone like to talk about that?
It's very cute about, you know, but if I went to England, then I might fall in love with you, and then we might get married, and then I mightn't have it, and then he gives her the little book about the great actresses of theatre, and it's lovely. And again, it ties into that she's not presented as the ugly duckling or the little whatever, like she's presented as something, as a girl that the boy finds attractive, you know.
Yes. That is exactly what I was going to say. Like, it just, again, it's very refreshing, especially after having seen most of the Mickey and Judy films first before I saw Thoroughbreds for the first time. And so I knew sort of what the dynamic was, that her character is always the one that, you know, again, should only be heard and never seen. And, you know, the boys don't want her. And then you have this one, and, you know, he's got a crush on her. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it is just very, very sweet.
Yeah, and he's a little cutie. He was a much better looking kid than Mickey Rooney was.
He's very pretty. He's a very pretty boy.
Yeah.
He's very polite.
Yeah.
I know he's not the type the real Judy would have gone for, because I know she liked slightly older for her character. This scene was actually supposed to be where the deleted song Sun Showers was supposed to take place, and I think she was supposed to sing it to him, which would have made a bit more sense than like Got a Pair of New Shoes. I've heard this song once. Have either of you heard it?
Not for a long time, but yes.
I have.
It's not it's sweet, but I wouldn't say it was very memorable, because it hasn't left a kind of lasting impression on me. Like your Broadway and mine from Broadway Melody in 1938, that knocked me out, and I was like, they should never have cut that. This is like, she's brilliant, but the actual song, yeah.
And actually, it struck me in the credits. I hadn't noticed it till I watched it this time. Arthur Freed and Nacio Herb Brown wrote Got a Pair of New Shoes. And I was like, this is the songwriting duo that gave us Good Morning, Singing in the Rain, all these wonderful songs. And then they wrote Got a Pair of New Shoes.
It's an earworm. They got it.
It is. It's in my head right now.
Yeah.
But they just wanted to show off the new shoes. That's all.
I have to say, I actually really like that song. And it's because when James was a baby, I got him some new shoes. And of course, I was singing that song to him. And ever since then, he's loved that song so much. And multiple times he's asked me to play it for him. And now, when we do get him new shoes, even now at, how old is he now? 5, he still sings that song. So I like it's a special song for us. We love it. It gets stuck in my head constantly. Yeah. Anytime I hear it, it's in there for several days after. But
I mean, it's not the worst song that's ever been written in the world. I mean, maybe I'll plant my own tree or something like that could be a little bit more in there, but it's just a peculiar song for the film.
It is a weird song to be putting in a film about horses, but whatever.
I love the scene like we've just discussed because it cracks me up, going back to that scene where she's singing it and annoying, interfering, Mickey and Ronald doing whatever they're doing. We used to watch that when I was younger with my mum, and my mum was laughing hysterical at it, and I thought she was just laughing because she found them amusing. I didn't really get she was laughing at that kind of like subtext. Yeah.
Yep, just a little something in there for the adults.
Yeah, because that video accidentally got taken over, and it was years later I saw it again. I bought it off eBay, an American one like you did, Connor, and I was watching it like, okay.
Well, it's like I said the other day, I'm like, did Louis B. Mayer seriously watch this movie and be like, okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with this whatsoever.
Let's cut voodoo, but let's have Mickey Rooney just try to pants the hell out of, Ronald
and
Sinclair.
Talk about their little dates.
I don't get it. Double standard.
I think because it was just so innocent, wasn't it? It was kids.
Yeah.
To them, it was innocent. To us now, looking at it in 2021, we're like, we know what you're doing there.
It's like there's me interrupting you trying to say things and now I can't think of it. Thank Heaven for Little Girls from Gigi. That is meant to be innocent, but it's not.
Nowadays it's not.
Yeah.
No.
Right, where were we up to? So the song Sun Showers, and then Judy, after he goes, Judy speaks to Sophie Tucker saying, they can't let this happen. So she needs to go and like find Timmy Donovan, to sort things out. And so we have a bit of a scene where she's searching for him. So she finds Timmy in the drugstore, which is like the other big. Like she looks, when she looked back on this, she said they only really had 2 real dramatic scenes together. And I think she might have meant the dinner table and this scene. They do have a few other scenes together, but they were the like 2 big, interactive scenes. So she finds him in the drugstore, and we sort of really get to see the Mickey and Judy relationship forming here. Do you think? The pals?
Definitely.
Yeah, like, we went very quiet there, sorry.
I was like, anyone?
Jump in. You're right. It's probably the first scene where we see, well, this one and the dinner table scene, but you do see that Garland Rooney magic that they do create together,
She does have more chemistry with him than with Ronald Sinclair, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And that was noted at the time. That's why, as she says herself, they wrote it into the next Andy Hardy film. But no, I think this is a nice scene. It's really nice because they've been sparring from that point. Now they're being supportive.
And Mickey's character, I think he is very unlikable, up until I did feel for him with his dad. And when you see that the dad is playing him and pretending to be dying, actually, not just sick, but pretending to be dying. So I do feel for him then, but there are times when he is just very unlikable in this.
Do you know his character arc in this reminds me very much of in Boys Town? He has a similar, like, he's cocky, he's considered a bad boy, and then spends in his time, you know, with the priest Spencer Tracy in Boys Town. He again, someone, a young lad who he befriends, becomes in trouble, and you see his kind of like heart shining through and his soft side, and it's very, very, very similar. And this was before, 2 years before, but well, a year before Boys Town, by the time Boys Town was released. So yeah, no, I think she's very good in this scene as well. She's funny and also charming, and also it's also quite moving in parts.
And it's just a testament to her that at that age, that the talent, the raw talent that she had at that age it's unmistakable. You know,
I can't get over how she's eating so many plates of beans, because ask anyone who knows me, and baked beans are the worst food that you can give to me. I absolutely despise them.
Really?
So that scene, I'm just like, oh, yeah.
The musical fruit.
Yeah. Well, I think our baked beans are different, aren't they, to what's in the US?
Probably.
I'm nearly sure they are, because I'm nearly sure I've seen, because anybody that knows me outside of this, I'm very into food and cooking, so I watch a lot of YouTube videos on different recipes and cooking shows and things like that, and I do watch a lot of American ones, and I've seen some American people doing the traditional English breakfast, and they've had to make the beans from scratch, because I don't think what you and me think of as beans is the same thing as what's there.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Interesting. Well, I hate our baked beans.
Yeah.
Can't stand them.
For anybody who doesn't know, the baked beans that myself and Sarah would know are like, they're little white beans, but they're in a sort of a watery tomato sauce for all the world. They come in a can, and you heat them up in the microwave or on the stove or whatever, and you can get little pots of them as well that go in the microwave now. Yeah, so I think that's different.
Oh, okay.
Let us know in the comments.
It's similar here. Like it's a small little bean. I think it's in like almost like a barbecue type, like a hickory type sauce. I don't really know. It's usually kind of sweet. I don't eat them, but and they just they just come in a little can. I don't like them.
I don't like the tomato. We do get barbecue beans here now, but the tomato ones we have are quite sweet, and I can't stand them.
Interesting.
So anyway, should we move on?
Shall?
Anything else on that scene? Oh, I will say one thing. I always do that. Anything else? I will say.
Oh, just one more thing. Yes.
Because of this scene, Judy, as always, she saves the day again, pretty much, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Always.
And then
in Garland fashion, she saves the day.
And then in the next scene, that'll lead us on into the next scene, which is the race. And Timmy gets disqualified because they find out what he did. Judy and Sophie Tucker, between them, they saved the day because Roger, after one lesson where he falls off and gets injured, he miraculously can ride the puka. Well, I'm sure he had more than the one lesson we saw. Like I should imagine he had more than that one lesson. But obviously those dates on the horse worked out for him. But that was kind of like coordinated by Judy and Sophie Tucker, and there were some like very good and funny scenes between them. So anyone got anything to say?
So I have to say that I was a little bit distracted near the end of the film, so I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm gonna let Connor go.
I'm trying to. I think I'm going to quote Judy and say I wish I had something brilliant to say here, but no, it's just a testament to her and Sophie Tucker, the way they play off each other. I mean, Sophie Tucker was, I actually don't know how old she would have been at this point, but she was a veteran of show business at that point. And well, I suppose you could say Judy was as well, but you know, If she was 15, she'd spent the previous 13 years working in vaudeville nearly. But again, it's just a testament to that natural talent that she displayed, that very few people ever since have done at that age. And with nothing, like, I mean, in the sense of, these are the days when the camera was turned on and what was happening in front of the camera is what you saw on the screen. We're not talking about any post-production editing or anything at all. It's, you see what you see is what you get.
Which I love. I do love these few scenes around the race, because we get some really good facial expressions from her. Said they spot Timmy Jonathan's dad, so they like smell a rat, and they then fix it, for him to like get arrested. But these scenes where Judy's just listening, and it's just the faces, she's following them, and then she ends up at the betting stall, whatever you call it. Yeah. And the fella's like, what? And she's like, oh, have you got change for a quarter? Yeah. And he's like, stop. He's sort of like, stop messing about or something. She's like, okay. Pull at the face and go, oh, I beg your pardon. Oh, that's what she says, I beg your pardon, which she says in other films as well. And then we've got that classic where she does that.
Oh, yeah.
That one. And a costume in this scene as well, I really like.
She was the queen of faces in everything she did. She always whipped out the best ones.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Carly, she was phenomenal with her facial expressions. And when I was younger, I was always fascinated with her eyebrows, actually. She kind of can twitch them and move them in such a way, and beautiful shape on her eyebrows as well. They always talk about Joan Crawford and the eyebrows. I think Judy, especially after Dottie Ponadell got involved as her makeup artist, I just think, the later 40s with her eyebrows were fabulous.
Yeah,
Later
do you know what?
Eyebrows, however.
I sometimes prefer her eyebrows slightly before Dottie Ponadell. She did make them a great shape, and she lifted everything, didn't she? But I really liked the natural kind of like early 40s eyebrows with like all the expression, but I agree on the 50s eyebrows. Don't even get me started. But in the 60s, I thought they were great. They were back to being great again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we move on?
Yep.
We're getting through this one quite good, aren't we?
Yeah.
So anyway, Roger wins the race and he's reunited with Timmy because it's just such love, such puppy love. And they've even got pet names for each other, call each other Tomato or Tomato, as I say. I'm like Roger, I say Tomato.
I say Tomato as well.
So it then fades after the race. It then fades to they're in like a trailer, and the three kids are sat in the front with the horse in the back, and they're singing. Guess what they're singing? Can anyone guess what they're singing?
Gee, I don't know.
Some song we've never heard up to this point.
Yeah.
Something about a new scarf or something, but yeah. Mm-hmm. But obviously they're on tour because it's got all the like cities going across, and then what's his face? I forgot his name. The one who was in the horse cart, and Sophie Tucker had just sat off like knitting and doing whatever. And then so with the film opens with the three of them singing "Got a Pair of New Shoes," and it closes with the three of them. And I always think now, is it Mickey or is it Judy that's third wheeling, or are they just the three of them? Are they just the three of them all in it together? What do you think?
I think it's Judy third wheeling.
I was kind of actually getting cabaret vibes off it. Liza's cabaret, because that's sort of in that film as well, like, you know. Just on this last final scene, the only thing I wanted to say on that was I love that the horse hits off Judy's hat or something at one stage in the background, and she kind of moves it, and then she glances back up a few seconds later.
I don't think I noticed that.
No, me neither. I missed it.
It's brilliant.
I've seen her do this with a hat, but I didn't realise that the horse had knocked it off. I just thought it was one of her little actions.
I went back on it, and rather than watching her, I was watching the horse peeping over the thing, and it's the horse hits it, and then she carries on, and then just glances up, and it's just so funny.
Well, wasn't she known to have a phobia of horses, or was it just one particular horse on the Harvey Girls and then one on Get Your Gun, or did she have a genuine phobia of horses?
I don't know, because I've read this story about Harvey Girls, I think in 2 places. I'm almost certain John writes about it in the liner notes for the CD and possibly in one of his books. And I think
it is.
It is.
World's Greatest Entertainer, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I've heard of it, wasn't it? But that was a boisterous horse or something that kind of...
Well, John just says she was a bit nervous by a very fractious horse, which you would be, because I love animals, but I'll get a bit scared, by a wild animal getting a bit aggressive. But and I'm going to mention another biographer now. Can you guess who I'm going to mention?
I don't know.
He mentions it about 50 times that she has a phobia, a full-on phobia of horses. Don't know whether you remember.
Because it comes... remember.
Yeah, it comes back up during Annie Get Your Gun, but I don't know.
I've never heard... That's the only place where I've heard the Annie Get Your Gun horse reference.
She was a huge animal person. I would be very shocked if she had a genuine fear of horses.
But sure, she holds the horse in Minnie from Trinidad in Ziegfeld Girl, and like she's literally holding his thing, and seems fine. Unless she's just covering it, I don't know.
Unless it was a laceophobia because of the Harvey Girls, but do you know what? It was probably just that one horse that was acting a bit wild.
Yeah.
It scared anyone, to be fair.
Interesting.
You learn something every day.
Didn't Sid buy a racehorse?
Yeah.
In
Ireland.
Yeah, that's it. Because it said she fell in love with this particular horse, didn't she?
Yeah.
So no way she has a phobia. Yeah, no way she has a phobia then.
I don't think so.
It's like saying I've got a phobia of cats.
Like I said, she was a huge animal person, so I don't think she would have had a terrible phobia of horses.
No, and there's a great story. I think it is actually in the Anne Edwards book, so I don't know how true it is, but there is photos of her with the dog. That there was somebody, was it in and around Talk of the Town, or somebody in 1969 had this beautiful sort of big Labrador golden retriever, Carly type dog that she seemed to take a real shine to. And did they give her the dog? Or
is that Brandy?
Yes.
Yeah, Brandy. Yeah, I think she had the dog when she... I wonder what happens to the dog when she died. Sorry, I always think of these things.
Yeah.
Oh, Mickey took care of
the
it.
2 of them together. And the dog is as big as her, nearly.
Yeah. Well, she had a Saint Bernard in the 1930s that was pretty much the size of a horse.
Yeah, which I read the other day. I've never read it before. That was a gift to her when she had the car accident. Jordan Love behind Andy Hardy. Where did I read that? I think it was while I was doing research for the... Oh no, it was when I was looking up about her and Freddie Bartholomew and that, which I will actually add on to this podcast in a minute. So, yeah, it was a gift. The St. Bernard, or St. Bernard, as we say, yeah.
I didn't know that. That's so sweet.
Yeah, it's cute. But she made a joke of it, saying I was only in hospital for a day.
Yeah.
She had a punctured lungs and fractured ribs, and back then you were in hospital for ages, weren't you? And she was out and working again.
Yep.
But have we got time to just add a few more little bits on?
Yep.
Or do we need to go? Are you sure?
Oh, yeah.
I just will say, just as a few things that I wanted to speak about, that the role of Roger was originally intended for Freddie Bartholomew. But there was the real reason because his aunt Sissy got into contract disputes with MGM. And Evie, don't do that.
It's funny because Ronald Sinclair reminded me so much of Freddie Bartholomew.
Yeah, even Phil called him Freddie Bartholomew the other day in a post. But I know they did make a film together, but I really liked Ronald Sinclair in it. I thought he was very good, but knowing like how absolutely head over heels in love with Judy he was when they were kids, it would have been interesting to see that dynamic.
Yes. Yeah.
I wondered if he'd have played it less reserved than Ronald Sinclair.
Oh, definitely. He had more character, I guess, to him. I think he would have been way less reserved. I don't think he'd be going after Timmy, that's for sure.
Ronald Sinclair became an editor as well in films. So he lived on quite successfully. But even in like Listen Darling, even though you never know whether they're just friends or girlfriends and boyfriends in that, do you? But these scenes in that, especially some of the night scenes, and she's just in a dressing gown and her hair's a little bit looser and she looks adorable. You can see the way he looks at her in that film. You can just see it. You're like, before I knew anything about him, really liking her like that, I used to look at that and go, I'm sure he fancies her. Because I do it with Sidney Miller in Strike Up the Band as well, during Lakonga. And I'd be looking, thinking, I'm sure some of those fellas fancy her.
Yeah.
And they did. Yeah, they're all like that looking down.
Yeah, because you know, despite the frills and everything with it, it's very flattering in this department.
Shall I go on? Shall I do a few of the dead? Shall I do a bit about the reviews and the audience response?
Yeah.
I'll just get some things up here. I don't know a lot about the actual audience response, but I know that she herself said she must have done some good in it because they wrote it into the next Andy Hardy film, and obviously her next film was Everybody Sing.
Yep.
And that was like that was a project basically built around her, really. But some of the reviews, I took these out of Legendary Film Career because I do want to start including reviews in these film ones. I didn't have time to get any more to, research a bit deeper. But the New York Herald Tribune said, an appealing picture, especially for children. Miss Garland does several imitations nicely. Mickey Rooney gives a really fine performance. Then the Chicago Tribune says, brilliant little Judy Garland again proves her right to the title of child actress. She's a fine natural actress, which is basically what we've been talking about. And the Contemporary newspaper review says, a good hokey yarn about kids and horse racing. Judy Garland and Sophie Tucker help things along, and it's all done so sincerely that the big race at the end becomes quite as thrilling as it's supposed to be. But I do find that interesting, actually. I think it's actually, the vehicle, is more a vehicle for the two male kids. They are the central characters, but I do think that Judy and Sophie Tucker just steal it.
They do, 100%.
And maybe that's why she got top billing.
Could have been. Because she's so far down the cast list in Broadway Melody and then this is the next one, and suddenly she's right there above the title.
Yeah, because it did. Well, I think Broadway Melody did propel her quite a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, the Dear Mr. Gable was such a platform for her.
Because everyone says like Wizard of Oz made her famous, but she had quite a bit of fame before that.
Oh God, yeah. Dear Mr. Gable definitely was putting her on the map.
So I do think because Mickey wasn't as big a star as it became like the year after, and I do think MGM was rightly so predicting massive things for her. Now that she'd been tested out of Fox, she'd been a success. They put her in Broadway Melody. She had about 3 or 4 scenes and songs, and she stole the film.
Mm-hmm.
So they
knew she'd be a great singer and a great actress too.
Yes. Oh yes.
So, is that everything? Anything anyone wants to add?
No, just go and watch the movie. It really is a really enjoyable, easy watch. If you have a rainy Saturday or Sunday afternoon and you're wanting something nice to put on, do have a look at Thoroughbreds Don't Cry. It's a good enjoyable movie.
It's hard to find online, but it's still available on DVD, isn't it?
It is,
if you
yeah.
search out there.
The Warner Archive.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for watching and listening, and it's been lovely to get back to it. We've all missed it so much, even though all three of us have been well up to 90, as Connor would say. We will be back next month, but we will have a few little things in between, and our next podcast is scheduled. Sometimes these change, but it is scheduled to be about the evolution of Judy's singing voice. And we should have a guest or two for that one. So, as usual, if you enjoy our content, can you please hit that like button and subscribe and ring that bell so you'd receive notifications and don't miss anything else. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.